Hello, today is the 21st of April 2025, and it's a Monday after the long holiday, the Lenten season. By the way, happy Easter, everyone. These podcasts is quite different from my previous podcasts or uploads because I would try my best to stick to what I have written and read because I it will not do for me to inadvertently go beyond what I should be saying in in public or in this kind of in my platform. Anyway, I also debated against myself on the wisdom of having this content, this update. Should I even make it? Should I even upload it? But you know, it. I truly hope that by sharing this information, like it's a sort of making it known what my plans are. Nobody need to be caught by surprise or you know preparations and decision making can be made longer than if I just spawn this impromptu without even some kind of telegraphic notice, something like that. Anyway, at this current date, the humongous elephant in the room, it is represented by a question that I will bring with me in person. It had not been, it was avoided naturally. It is there, but we all exerted effort to not to like talk about it or sit down and have a meeting of the mind about it if it's such a big deal, right? So hoping against hope that it would just go away over time, but of course it's not. It's not going away. It's I believe that this is the right time to bring it up. So I will bring it with me in a form of a question. But first off, yes, the usual, the introduction. I have a legal name. My valid identifications will distinguish my name from other names, just like what the IDs and other forms of identification can provide. So it used to be that that's the end of it. But taking off from that initial self introduction, it is I who must initiate the crossing of the line and thereby pointing out to the humongous elephant in the room. Like, sir, madam, do you know that I have quite a popular name here and abroad? So I would be stating a fact just because I have the numbers and the stats that if asked to be presented, I can do so. So, sir, madam, do you know that I have quite a popular name here and abroad? So, do you know? So, it's a question, right? And it's a question that invites any questions, comments, or whatever response. That the name that I have has some records that can best describe the owner of the name and can answer legal questions as well. Aren't you gonna ask me if I am that person, if that person is even a real human person, or is she anywhere here in the Philippines, either in Luzon Island, a Visayan, or a Clarissa talaga Garcia from Mindanao? Who knows, right? Or the answer could be no, I have not heard of any popular Clarissa talaga Garcia. That sort of name didn't cross my feed. I haven't heard of her. About that, hold that thought, because that is a hanging question that I would like to bring up at the end of this podcast, at the end of this episode. Anyway, it is prelude to the man on the street and the degree of reasonability that he or she has that can aid in dissecting the set of facts presented. I have to take a pause. As I was saying, it is prelude to the man on the street and the degree of reasonability that he or she has that can aid in dissecting the set of facts presented. That's presented set of facts that's in that's in collision with each other, because even if it's going to happen on another jurisdiction, the interests at hand will make each Filipino a stakeholder in this, right? So, like, we have much to learn, and let me leave this for now, which I hope to bring after, before I end this podcast. The basis of that question anchors on the spontaneity and basic human nature, like curiosity, and there are protocols as well as practical considerations that come from confirmation. So that is how, like, we always have to confirm, like, in the proliferation of fake news, or to avoid, yeah, to avoid blunders, we usually confirm and verify what we hear, what we get to listen, right? So, in some of the podcasts and LawTube, in the YouTube, in some of these channels, I was able to be familiarized about court cases in the US and even elsewhere. The questions posed to a possible juror hangs on that very question that I am going to pose it. So it's like there is a practical need for such a confirmation, to verify the personal information of the other person. Having some of the questions, as I remember it, like, I'm paraphrasing, have you known, or what have you heard? Can you be impartial? And so on and so forth. But it's really quizzing the preconceived ideas, if there are, of the potential juror. So the general information subject to the correction of what any plaintiff should expect, like, the general information, it is provided by Attorney Kurt. I'm sorry, I am so bad with family name. I used to be a subscriber, a paid subscriber of uncivil law. Yep. And also attorney Rani Libayan and attorney Claire Castro here in the Philippines, because they are both trial lawyers before embarking on their channels. And it's just so sad that they used to be good friends until they are not, at least for the time being. They gave their insights and shared actual trial experiences. Of course, there's attorney Rene Bueno, and who could not. The first time I heard of him was the Tito Vic and Joey, the It Bulaga, who owns the intellectual property. So, yes, that's because most of the facts had been laid down for public consumption. I was able also to digest about the yeah the tumultuous battle in the intellectual property rights. So, of course, there's a difference. The decision to be rendered by reasonable men and women of our peers relies heavily on basic human nature. Actually, that is my own take. That can be the only commonality in terms of educational background, family environment, or occupation and status. If random individuals will be delegated as the one unanimous decider of a court case. So because of this, I regard myself as not being weird or not being bizarre and, being out of sorts. If I also rely on basic human nature, like, natural curiosity, the need for confirmation, especially with Filipino culture of being respectful and not wanting to commit blunders if we can help it. We want to maintain to give credit where it is due. By bringing the focus to the natural, to the spontaneous, the contrast will present itself and will naturally be classified as either the norm or the arbitrary, going against the grain, so full of intents and motivations. If it goes against the natural, the basic, the extra effort, being a contrarian, it will entail intent and motivation. So, to what intent and what can be the motivation for going against the norm or the basic human nature? To this day, I am never asked for a confirmation. So, therefore, it is a fair assessment to offer and be used as a predicate. How, if I am not the source of the confirmation, then it must be coming from someone else, or if it's not an exclusive authority on confirmations, then many ways and means are being used to bring about such confirmation that had rendered the confirmation that comes from me being a POI or a person of interest myself or a namesake to the more popular POI, to the extent that any answer that I can give was either redundant, counterproductive, and in fact a hostile interest to the existing or prevailing source of confirmation that had already initiated consequential actions. The confirmation that there is at present no need for one Clarissa Talaga Garcia to be asked if she is that Clarissa M. Talaga Garcia, it's laden with vested interests. To have equal protection of the law and to bring equality to the existing situation, I would need to document the exact facts that where I have how come I have arrived at the cause of action wherein my answers, my personal answers to any question in matters about my name and person, with or without relation to the popular name, it had been rendered as moot and academic, redundant, counterintuitive, or productive. So the natural and spontaneous had been suspended in favor of the unnatural and the preconceived and prearranged, so managed situation. So from where I stand, protecting my personal interests, that is of course very subjective take on it, subject for correction or subject to the offering of evidence to the contrary. But that is the legal position that I have taken. The impartiality of a jury can swing, you know, the impartiality of a jury, and in giving in the moment that they render a decision, it would, it depends on the due process where it would swing, and it can swing both ways when it comes to people with some kind of public persona, albeit for different reasons. Like in a case of a Hollywood star taking on a paparazzi to court, or an unknown person who wronged the star, like someone who has been harassing, or someone, an unknown person who's disturbing the peace of the famous star, famous and star, or someone who has a prominent position in society, and being harassed, being like someone is fixating on them, obviously because of mental disorder, or any kind of reason. It's a clear case of one-sided public knowledge. It will take more effort for the jury to get to know the unknown plaintiff, like comparing orange and apple. They will need common denominator to make it possible. Yeah, that's just my take. Whereas a known figure from any industry, or like in politics, who is always a newspaper content, undisputed media mover and shaker, and if it comes to be that the famous or known personality will be going against another person, the spontaneity of basic human nature and the processes of ordinary day by day confirmation, it will pave the way. It would have to make room for the rules of court, the due processes, primarily rules on evidence and or rules of evidence. So the plaintiffs, who each has public profile by their respective rights, the arguments for and against will have some background information already present based on equal rights to due process and rules of evidence. So it will not matter how famous or how popular one party is, and how unknown the other is. The potential juror can then be asked about familiarity to any one or both plaintiffs. It is my humble belief that it is not an impossible task to gather enough number of qualifying juror to decide on a court case involving a person who shares the same name, or the only person who will come forward as the real person who owns the name, the biometrics, the commercial viability coming from quantifiable physical identification. So by laying down the predicate, not just by any person, but the person who is legitimately known by the same legal name, documented as such as her, the personal interest allowed by the Constitution of both the Philippines and the US can be invoked, making the response of the duty-bound responder to be relevant, material, and significant in whatever jurisdiction. Will it not interest the ordinary Filipino of whatever citizenship how the ordinary man on the street as a potential juror of a foreign country can say categorically that yes, I know of her, but and versus no, I have never heard of her and slash but. I have never heard of her, and I have never heard of her, but even the pre-trial due process will be educational and enlightening to the practice of law, if I may say so myself. Because even as a layperson, I have it is if it is intriguing to say the least that I would rather that it happened to another person and I would be an objective bystander or a spectator, but because I am one of the parties, then my degree of interest is double, if understandably. So that's it for now. It's just that's the point of interest that I have, and yeah, bye for now. Sandali lang!